Michelle, are you ready?
I was born ready.
She's an award-winning author, speaker, and podcast host who serves on the National Faith Advisory Council. She supported Donald J. Trump for president before it was cool, from her she shed in her beautiful backyard. This is the Michelle Moore Show.
Hi, everyone. We're getting right to the show. We've got Steve Jarvis here with us. I want to tell you, just in case you hadn't heard, producer Ron has been very sick. So we're doing a quick little show today, a little bit of time with you with Steve Jarvis, fifth generation farmer and ex-MAHA member. I do want to let you know I've spoken with Mark Taylor. He's going to be here Monday. And then next Friday, Jay with ATKN is going to be here. We're doing a 4-week series. Oh, it's good, y'all. I can't wait. We start next Friday, okay? We were going to start tomorrow, but producer Ron is sick. So here's what I've told producer Ron. If we'll just do kind of a shorter show today, and then I'm going to let him have the whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, to feel better. He said, you'll do that? And I said, yes. And so he's been very sick. If y'all will keep him in your prayers. We're going to get through today's show, though. I promised only a few media clips and things because there's a lot of prep work that goes into that. But anyway, so we'll keep that. And that just means you get to hear from Steve Jarvis more. All right, let's go on ahead and bring in Steve. Very excited that he's here with us today. Hi, Steve.
Hey, and thank all your listeners for reaching out and saying, hey, you want me back? I don't hear that often. I get banned a lot.
Okay, so Steve, so the first thing is, the man formerly known as Prince Andrew, we woke up to the news this morning that he has been allegedly arrested. The Fox Morning News did a thing on it. Let's take a look at this clip, and then we'll talk about it when we get back. Here we go.
Police say they took the brother of King Charles into custody on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Officers reportedly arrived at the royal estate in eastern England earlier this morning to make the arrest of the former prince, who turns 66 years old today. Andrew is in custody, and investigators are carrying out searches at addresses in Berkshire and Norfolk. Police are releasing this statement in part without naming Andrew, by the way, saying, quote, following a thorough assessment, we have now opened an investigation into this allegation of misconduct in public office, an offense that carries up to life in prison in the UK, by the way. We're still waiting more details of this breaking news, but this comes after Andrew was stripped of his royal title last October over ties to convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, and after Thames Valley Police said they were assessing a complaint over the alleged sharing of confidential material by the former prince with the late sex offender. The former prince has consistently denied any wrongdoing. Misconduct in public office refers to, quote, serious, willful abuse or neglect of powers relating to the role of public office. We shall see what comes of this. It's a developing story, as you guys know, so we'll keep our viewers updated.
Okay, so what do you think, Steve? Today, by the way, is Andrew's 66th birthday. We have talked many times. Here we go. Went to Wikipedia this morning. I thought, let's just see. Today is February the 19th, and it's 2026. That's 66 years. What do you think about all this symbolism and what's going on?
Well, there's two things. What did the senator from Louisiana say? Like, there's two things that don't hang themselves. That's a coat hanger and a bathrobe. And Jeffrey Epstein didn't hang himself. So I'm going to say that this guy, if he does get arrested, he's with Jeffrey.
Well, so I think it's interesting. We'll see too. I'm wondering how many people have no clue anything's even really hardly going on. And now to hear that Andrew has been arrested, is that going to be like, are we going to go to the grocery store and see this on the front of the magazines at the checkouts? And people go, wait a minute, what's going on? You know, is this going to grab attention to the normies, as we would call them? Are they going to start going, what now? You know, so we'll see. I think that's interesting. And it kind of makes me think too about these Super Bowl commercials. You know, let's talk about that for a second, because, you know, with the Super Bowl commercials, you know, you got Mike Tyson, you got Kid Rock talking about all this stuff about eating healthy with RFK Jr. So, you know, are people starting to even realize, like, I'm wondering if new people are waking up or not. What do you think?
Well, are we shadow banned that bad, Michelle? What's really interesting is like, I've had videos hit 100 million, 300 million, but I'm throttled back on most of my videos that I make. I don't understand why, like, shows like yours Sean Ryan gets 2.5 billion views on his shows. There's something wrong that when we have 330 million people, and this is what's really going on in our country, that we have the Epstein files, and we got somebody in the UK that we're paying attention to get arrested, right? So it's across the pond, and people are just like, well, okay, it's in the UK. But really and truthfully, myself and all the people I know on Instagram, the big heavy hitters, none of us are letting this Epstein thing go. And the commercials, everybody should know, if you don't know and you're in here, I left Maha in December because Maha is not serious about changing anything. And the commercials, I want everybody to really understand that I've been working and presented farms and ranches that are in real serious financial trouble to Maha, to RFK, to the Small Business Administration, the USDA, that these farms are really, really in trouble. We're losing 63 farms, ranches or dairies per day in 2025, and that's speeding up. And they go to do these commercials with Mike Tyson. And what does Mike Tyson have to do with real food and regenerative farming and changing things and making America healthy again? I mean, it's nonsense. And Kid Rock, and I don't like Kid Rock. I think that his lyrics are bad. I mean, when he says it, in one of his songs where it says, they call it statutory, but I like young girls. They call it statutory, but I call it mandatory. See, this is the thing that you have to understand what's really going on. And why is it that HHS spent $8 million of your tax dollars on an ad for the Super Bowl? Let me just give you the ad that should have been on there. Hi, my name's Steve Jarvis. My rancher friend Brian Massard is here. We just saved this ranch. HHS was a great part of this. RFK kept his promises about making America healthy again. We just did regenerative farming. We put 250,000 farms in because that was my farm plan. And hey, by the way, I'm doing this commercial for free. I bet you Kid Rock didn't do this for free. I bet you Mike Tyson are getting paid a big amount of money, not just the $8 million that they paid for broadcasting that into the Super Bowl. And this is what's wrong with our nation, because the problem is with Maha is over. Maha is not serious, and MAGA just took Maha completely down.
Wow. Well, you just make a lot of really good points. And I think to myself, wow, $8 million, there's an awful lot that could have been done with that money. And who's going to not eat whatever they're going to eat because they saw Mike Tyson or Kid Rock talking about whatever during the Super Bowl? How is that really going to be an impact? I don't know. At $8 million for that airtime is complete insanity. And
let's face it, Kid Rock, when you see him without a shirt on in this, it's actually embarrassing for me to watch Bobby Kennedy to work out when Kid Rock looks like he just came out of, he looks like he was on meth and he recovered. Okay. But that's it's not like Make America Healthy Again. I mean, he looks like a meth head that's, got clean for about 6 months. That's it.
I think you're just saying what we're all thinking, to be honest with you, because I don't see Kid Rock as being somebody that I would consider the picture perfect example of healthy eating. I don't know. It almost seems so ludicrous. But I guess what I'm also thinking is, I told you that it's been about 9 months to a year now. My favorite word is tangible. What is tangible? What are these people tangibly doing? What can we put our hands on for results? And right before the show, you told me that the food pyramid, yes, we were told that the food pyramid flipped, but that it's not actually effective and for real flipped until 2027.
That's right. Especially in the school lunches and the military food, it won't initiate until the fall of 2027. This is what I'm talking about. Tangible. There's nothing tangible. And listen, I'm sorry, Maha friends, I was a part of your group, but listen, I'm going to the county clerk's office here in my county next week, and I'm going to pull my Republican deal and I'm going to burn my Republican. I'm leaving the Republican Party as well. I can no longer stand with the Republicans, and don't think I'm not standing with the Democrat. We need to be the body of America, and we need to stand up and tell these people we're not doing this, and we have to exit the game. We have to really focus on where we spend our money. And listen, voting's not going to change this stuff anymore. And this tells you we have President Trump, we have Bobby Kennedy, we have Brooke Rollins, we have all Republican House and Senate pretty much, control, and nothing's happening. And you can't fix and get this country in shape on this. This tells you, folks, you can't ever do it unless we leave the system and start our own game.
That's a good point. It's like, because I just say tangibly. So why does it take till 2027 to be able to make a change to the school lunches? Why does it take? These things don't make sense to me. And that's a lot of why I keep having you come on, because I know that a lot of our viewers think the way that I think. And you kind of helping to translate what's from the headlines to what's really going on. And you're going to do some more of that for us today as well. Okay, so here's the other thing. EPA reapproves drift-prone pesticide dicamba. Please explain so that everybody understands about the lawsuits and what drift-prone, what's the drawback, like explain all this. And by the way, I just want to make sure everybody understands this is kind of also Steve's wheelhouse, not only because he's a 5th-generation farmer, but also his father was into pesticides and stuff for decades back years ago. So he knows all of this inside and out. And so, Steve, explain to us, what's drift-prone pesticide dicamba? What's good, what's bad?
So the thing about, dicamba is cheap. That's why they want it back on the game, and it works good in cotton fields. But here's the issue about dicamba. There's a lot of chemicals that have a lot of driftability. What that means is it really can travel a long ways across to the neighbors around you. And that's the big problem with it. But dicamba—
wait a minute, do you mean that that's a big problem because of unintended consequences?
Yes.
Like other things could die off and get poisoned? Okay.
Yeah, if you have a watermelon field next to that or cantaloupe or whatever, and you get a drift factor, it's over for that, those watermelons and cantaloupes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
All right. So is this a good thing or a bad thing? You had said that, well, it's already been defeated twice in court. So why was it defeated, and why is it now all of a sudden being approved again? Because if it got defeated in court, that means that at some point approvals to be able to use it was revoked or had been revoked, and now it's being reapproved. So is this a good thing? Like, kind of break this down for us.
Well, the reason the reason they think it's a good thing is just because it's cheaper. But folks, I just want to tell you something. Listen, there's a lot of products out there, 2,4-D, atrazine. There's a lot of these products that will cross over in applications. There are thousands of these products out there, and they're just using dicamba. And listen, if you want regenerative farming and you want people to do this, then we have to go back to like the way it was 40 years ago. Everybody must understand that farming got pushed into this over a 40-year period. And so these farmers don't have the equipment. Their farms are too large. I mean, think about trying to rotary cultivate 40,000 acres. It's just impossible. You can't do it. But the smaller farms, that's the reason I wrote a farm plan for Bobby Kennedy and President Trump. And that's the reason that I wanted to put 250,000 new 120-acre farms in. It would create a huge wave of economic power. We would strengthen our nation, and then the food would be back the way it used to be in our nation. But did they follow any of that? That's another one of the reasons I left Maha, because they're not serious. And let's face it, I never got a meeting with President Trump, and it's because I criticized him. And you can't criticize the president because he's too thin-skinned, or maybe it's just because everybody in his cabinet's on the Epstein file. I don't know.
Okay, no nonsense. Netta says drift prone equals nothing is organic. That's a good point, Steve. You know what I mean? Okay, so this morning, another big news a story came out. So today's news, many people kind of going off. I want you to be here to be able to translate for us. So this is about glyphosate. So Trump invokes Defense Production Act to protect glyphosate. Now, before we kind of weigh in on this, let's watch this interview and what RFK has to say in this interview about glyphosate real quick.
Diseases and sickness in people, right? Or about this glyphosate, I think it's called.
Yeah, glyphosate.
There's been a ton of lawsuits, but they still don't have to take this product off of the shelf. So that's the craziest thing to me. Is that right?
Well, it's a problem because you have all of the row croppers are dependent on it right now. And there's other technology that is emerging right now that actually, I looked at one yesterday. It's a tractor attachment that uses lasers to kill weeds. And that, if they can make that affordable, particularly for smaller farmers, that will be the answer, because you'll be able to, they can kill bugs and they can kill weeds. You program this thing and it zaps the weeds with a laser. It makes all the cells explode and it destroys them. And so that, there's a future that we can now see the light at the end of the tunnel there. But right now, if you banned glyphosate outright, it would put out of business 80% of our farmers.
Got it. Wow. So we're kind of dependent upon something that we know makes us sick.
Yeah, we are. And, we're doing a lot of work in the HHS to look for other alternatives and to find find an off ramp, because the farmers don't want to be using chemicals anyway. They're very expensive. They know, they have some of the highest cancer rates of any profession. And farmers care about their land. They want to leave it for their kids. It also destroys the microbiome in the soil, and that causes erosion. And so it's not a good long-term solution. The issue is, how do you transition off of it without putting farmers out of business?
Right.
Here's that laser.
Oh, wow. That's unbelievable. Laser weeding robot kills 100,000 weeds per hour.
Yeah, and it also kills insects. You can program it to kill, certain insects. And, that machine probably costs $1 million. So,
but if you could have a couple of those running at night through your farm, that'd be sick.
Well, yeah, it's a lot better than using chemical pesticides. So this is going to be, the future, but
we're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
Wow.
Okay. What are your thoughts? What's going on with this glyphosate stuff?
So let's talk about the machine that's going to take the place of glyphosate first. I looked that machine up. The cheapest machine you can buy is $200,000. Okay, the cheapest. So, and what's ironic is Bobby Kennedy made this video, but he came to my farm, and the reason he did come to my farm is I don't use them, and I don't have a $200,000 piece of equipment. I've got a junky $800 year, 35-year-old piece of equipment that I've welded on and greased up and worked on. And that's what I kept the weeds out with. And that's the way we used to do it. But the problem is we got to go bigger and bigger and bigger, because we don't have small farms and we don't have small processing. And that's the huge issue with this. And let's face it, I'm going to go hurt some of the feelings in the people here in your group here. And I want to tell y'all that in my farm plan, I am not organic. Okay. I do not believe in organic. Okay. I don't. And the reason I don't is because Michelle and I are going to talk about it after this show. We're going to start a new show, and it's called Can You Farm? Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one of you down in this listing group. We're going to have a drawing. Those of you that are 100% organic and you don't want to use any chemicals, we're going to put you on a farm, and we're going to put you down there in the South where there's every kind of bug and snake and critter in the world and every weed grows in the world. And we're going to see how much production you do on the way you want to farm. And then the winner gets to keep the farm. But if you don't, you have to pay us. And so that's the way we're going to do this.
So, Steve, is your point, because I'm just trying to understand here about this, is your point as a farmer that there are some chemicals that are just needed and necessary in order to actually produce food?
Well, let me just tell you this. I have used glyphosate in my life as a farmer. Now, I haven't probably in the last 10 years. But I tell you, I rented a piece of property that had a little tree in it. It's called a locust tree. And this thing has thorns on it that actually will puncture your tire. And guess what happens when you plow that locust? Every little root that you cut in makes a new tree. So what happens is that whole entire field becomes locust. So what we would do is we would go into a brand new field like this, and we would do a light coating of glyphosate. And when we saw that the leaves had wilted, we knew that the chemical had got into the roots, and then we would burn that field off, and then we would plow that field in, and we would never do that again. But we did use one application. Now, I do not, and this is what people don't understand, because the thing about it is, if you have certain weeds down there in the South, especially, that you can't get rid of it other than doing it that way. But if you do it in the pre-part and you do it correctly, you don't have those weed problems again if you plow and do that correctly. But people don't want to plow in the winter. And let's face it, farmers are big now and workers are few. And this equipment, well, that laser, I looked it up, they're $200,000 to $1 million. Farms can't afford this stuff, folks. I mean, farming is already too expensive as it is right now. Now, that said, in my farm plan, I would have created 250,000 farms that would have been regenerative farms that would have not used these chemicals except two. And the two chemicals that you would have used would have been malathion and carbol. And those were for insects, and they've been around for a long time. And I had a protocol, and it's written out. It's cheap, and it's easy to use, and it's very non-toxic. But it is a chemical that's good because, let's face it, when the big yellow grasshopper they talk about in the Old Testament shows up on your field of strawberries or sweet potatoes or whatever it is, you won't have a crop. And that's what the problem is in this MAHA movement. These purists are as dangerous as the ones that do big ag. So we got Trump signing this executive order that glyphosate is essential. What it is on the type of farming that we do. And that's why in my farm plan, in the large farm side of my farm plan that I never did get to discuss with Bobby Kennedy or President Trump, is that there's a 14-year changeover for these big farms, and there's microbes that are discovered. There's plants that you can plant. There's a lot of ways to do this. And Mother Nature has a unique way. If you quit destroying her, she has a unique way of healing herself as well. But nobody listens. Nobody listens. Nobody listened to me in MAHA. That's why I left. It's frustrating. You got all these people in MAHA, and they're all screaming, I want totally 100% organic. They have no idea what they're talking about. It drives me crazy. And the thing is they're talking about we want totally organic. If you got rid of glyphosate and got rid of all the herbicides, you're not going to grow food organically enough to feed the nation, folks. This is not talking about Sally in her little raised beds, and she's got a $440,000 courtyard with four guys that handpick weeds all day. This is false. It won't work. You're talking about feeding 330 million people.
Yeah, makes sense. So we're talking about real life solutions versus kind of just what sounds good and idealistically speaking. The other problem too, as we know that you've shined some light on here and there, is that we've got people that you've mentioned that are helping to make some of these decisions that have never actually farmed.
That's right. AJ Richards is a big advisor to Brooke Rollins now, and AJ and Richards and I we're friends. We actually stayed in a hotel together. I got him introduced into DC, and AJ Richards got drunk on access to these people in Washington DC. And this is the problem. You get near these people, and the time one time I said Mr. Trump, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you didn't use the president." Well, he needs to earn some respect at this point. So. I don't care actually what you call him now, but AJ Richards got drunk on access. And I told AJ Richards and Ryland Engelhart, he is a guy that did the Kiss the Ground movement, and he's connected to Cali Means. And Ryland and AJ, Ryland Engelhart, he did the Kiss the Ground movement. They have no idea what they're talking about on growing food. And they're all getting there, and they're big grifters, and they get all this access, and they do all these meetings and all this stuff. And I think that it's on purpose. I don't know if they know they're being used on purpose or they're in on the game or what it is. But I told them in July, I said, if you do this policy that is being put out in the USDA, if this policy goes forward, I said, this is the same exact policy that Brooke Rollins and Rick Perry did, and the head of the USDA down there in Texas did when my farm was in business and my wife's dairies were in business. This is exactly the same policy that destroyed the farms then. And this labeling stuff is what we're talking about. And they don't know what they're talking about because they're never farmed. AJ Richards, message him, folks. Ask him yourself. Ask him, have you ever owned a cow and have you ever farmed? Ask him yourself.
Owned a cow. That's a good point. And so how is it that these people get into these positions and yet they won't listen to you? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Well, what you have to understand is, if you can think of it as we're all in a coliseum, and in this coliseum, you have very few people in America left that really know the whole ins and outs of agriculture, all the way from growing food, all the way to wholesale, retail, doctoring animals. Well, when you're poor,
you've done all that.
Yeah. Well, when you're poor, you have to, or you don't survive because you do all that yourself. And the thing about it is, what we call about the grifters, these are people that get in the game. They're all excited about it. And we can't tell whether they're good or bad. I can't tell. I don't know if AJ Richards, I have no idea if AJ Richards is good anymore or not. Maybe he wasn't good from the beginning. But the thing about it is, What are the chances? I told this to AJ Richards and Ryland. I said, what are the chances that you're listening to a farmer who went through this word for word exactly, and it's what destroyed my farm, and I'm telling you, this is what's going to happen on a national scale if you follow this same policy. And guess what? That policy just went into effect the last Thursday, and now ranchers and people who butcher their own meat and make their own fat and tallow and their products like that, they cannot have state of origin label on it. This is nonsense, because there are ranches that are in Idaho and the processing plant is in Oregon or it's in Nevada. It's across the border. And so now you can't say this is Idaho or Montana or this is Texas. This is what I'm talking about. These regulations, they are lethal to ranching, and it's AJ Richards and Ryland's fault. It's their fault that the Nebraska plant and 3,700 people lost their jobs. It's their fault because they don't listen to what the people who've been in this game and understand how to play the game and how it works.
Okay, so you say it's their fault, but do they have that kind of power? How is it their fault?
Because they're the ones that are sitting in the office with the head of the USDA saying, oh my God, good job. Yeah.
Great idea.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So
you're the greatest person in the world. And when Brian Massard and I are screaming, this is complete insanity. You're driving off a cliff. Stop the bus. And they're going, you're driving the right way.
Okay. So Brooke Rollins, I want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly as well. So you're saying that Brooke is now implementing nationwide, countrywide, the same things that she implemented when she was over Texas and all of those procedures and policies that completely tanked and tore up agriculture in Texas?
Let me tell you this. I helped write the rules for organic meats for the state of Texas. And I was one of the first range-fed pork farmers, okay? Mm-hmm. And what I did is I was trying to feed my hogs and rotate them through woods and pastures and stuff like that, and I fed them, okay? Mm-hmm. And what I did is, but I helped write the rules for organic meats for the state of pork, but I used ivermectin to deworm my hogs because a hog has always got his nose in the ground, and I felt like that if I was going to eat one of my hogs and the customer was going to eat one of my hogs, that deworming that animal and being free of parasites and worms was more important than not deworming and calling him organic. Well, so I helped write the rules for the organic meats in the state of Texas, but guess what? I got knocked out of the game. I could not sell and put Go Texan label on my product, even though I helped write the rules and that everything that I was growing was a Go Texan product.
Why?
So, because the rule and regulation said you couldn't use ivermectin.
Okay. Jeez.
You can't make it up. That's what I'm trying to say is you get this purist involved. And here's what I believe. I believe that the people that are in power are no good. All right. So everybody that's in the game in government, they're no good.
Why are you thinking that? Why do you believe that?
Well, just look what they're doing.
Is it because with the Epstein list, nobody's been arrested until today, or what exactly is why? Why are you at that point?
Nobody's been arrested on the Epstein list in America. Okay. Yeah. And we're not even close. And then Pam Bondi's talking about, the Dow's at 50,000. I don't care if the Dow was at 50 billion. Okay. When children are being trafficked. So nothing's happening there. We're losing agriculture on a grand scale. We're fixing to bomb Iran. Can anybody tell me why we're bombing Iran, by the way? I have no idea. So we're doing all these things and we're sending out money. When I went to DC, I could not believe how much money is spent and sent out. That thing is just a cesspool of money going all over the world. And we're sending money to 73 countries and we can't save our own farming and agriculture. One of the reasons that I'm saying this, that they're no good, I don't think they're this stupid on accident. It's impossible. I sent a message to Kelly Means and said, what President Trump is doing to agriculture has to be on purpose. You can't be this stupid.
What'd he say?
Nothing. No reply back. But here's what happens. Then they grab a hold of the purist and the people that are no good in the government, they take the purist people. The people that are like, oh, plant banana trees and we're just going to skip through and it's unicorns and rainbows and you just weed with your toes and, never plow and all this stuff. And then they do all this and they take these purists because they know that it won't work. These people in government understand farming on a level that's way above most of us. because they know by data what works and what doesn't work. And
Sure.
they know the purest way will not work. Folks, I know. Michelle's going to get 79 videos of a guy on the coast of Australia who has 79 acres, who has been farming for 79 years and sells 79 different products, and he's never, ever sprayed one single thing. He's got 79 women with butcher knives, and they keep all the weeds weeded. I know y'all are going to come up with this clown show, but it's not true. It doesn't work in 99% of the rest of farming, and that's what you have to understand. And so the purists in this Maha movement, there is as much responsible for the destruction of the farms and agriculture as the ones that do the giant glyphosate. They both work hand in hand, because down the middle of the road is called sustainable farming. I've been trying to get sustainable farming used as a phrase. Sustainable farming means I need to do what I need to do. I want to be as regenerative as possible. I love my soil. I love my country. I love God. I love the way that the plants grow, but I want to do it the best way possible to make the most production per acre. And that's why I have my online farm school. I teach you how to farm this way. And basically, folks, farming was done this way all the time up until about 1984. Farming was done this way. And so my online farm school is $500. If you can't afford $500 to learn the old ways, well, then it's just going to disappear.
All right. So Steve, when we talk about Thursday of last week and you say some things changed, I know let's talk about Montana for a second. So we know of a farmer who is being heavily impacted because of what passed on last Thursday. Explain why it's a big deal to be able to put, grown and made in Montana and all of that on there onto packaging, and why it is that all of a sudden this particular farm, and I'm sure many more, are now not qualifying for being able to put that on their packaging. So why is it important, and what happened?
So in the labeling rules, and this is what I told them in the policy deal, they make them too strict. And the policy deal is you can't say this is a product of Montana if every bit of the product that you have is not done and finished and processed and made all in
Montana,
that state. Well, this particular farmer has fat, and the fat is rendered in Colorado because Montana does not have a facility that can handle the amount of fat that he sends, and they do not have a facility in the state of Montana that can make his products. And so it goes out of the border. Now it's not considered Montana product.
Okay. So is that important?
Yeah, because here's the fact of the matter is when you order labels, like if you're going to label beef jerky, you're going to label whatever you need. When you order them, the more labels you buy, the cheaper it is, right? They don't buy 5 labels, pay $5 a piece for them. They're buying, 50,000 labels of each thing they have. And if you have 25 products or 30 products that have these labels on it, well, what happens? They changed the rules last Thursday, and now he has all these packages with all these labels on it. Now, if he follows their rules, he has to chunk all that, call the guy up. Then there's this pause, right? Because you can't package the stuff you've got ready to ship now because it's got a wrong label on it. So now you're frozen. You can't ship your product for 2 or 3 weeks. You're on the phone telling a guy to hurry up and make you new packages. So he's going to charge you more because he's got to hurry up. And now you're fixing to lose $40K in a week.
Okay. Wow. Why is it that they're not able to, if it's not leaving the United States and it's staying here, that just seems like an overregulation to me and insanity.
Yeah, well, the WTO, and this is what Brooke Rollins didn't even know this. Okay, so the WTO is a World Trade Organization, and we have an agreement with Canada and Mexico. We have an agreement with them that we will not label meats. Okay, and on the meat package, it needs to say on there, it says product of USA. It cannot say this cow is raised in Mexico, this one's raised in Canada, and this is USA. That agreement says they're not going to do that. And the reason is because they know that customers that they're going to go in there and they're going to buy American-made products. And that is an agreement, and you have to leave the WTO in order to break the treaty. And President Trump is not going to do that.
Okay. All right. Interesting. All right. I want to talk about the fat. So when you were here, I guess it was about a month or so ago, we talked about on a specific show about the fat, that when the food pyramid flipped, that the fat from the cow would then be worth something, that this has cost farmers a gazillion dollars, because supposedly the fat was all bad. And so, which was news to me, that farmers weren't able to be paid on fat because the powers that be villainize something that actually is good. And so I didn't know that when it goes to the processing plant or wherever, that it ends up to where the farmers don't get paid on the fat. But because the food pyramid was flipping, this was going to change everything. So you're saying the food pyramid is not technically going into effect until 2027. So does that mean that farmers are also not getting paid on the fat until 2027?
That is correct.
That's wild. Okay, that is completely insane. So another hit to the American farmers.
Yeah, and if you look, and they're talking about, RFK sitting back and saying 80% of farms will go out and glyphosate. Yeah, it's true. He's telling the truth on that. But the thing about it is I wrote a plan systematically. This is how you do this. And then Brian Massard and I met when we were in DC, and he had a great plan. And he and I are like, hey, we're two hillbillies, know what we're talking about. And so we got together and we wrote a bigger plan. And then we wrote a financial plan. They didn't do any of it. They're not saving the finance, and the Federal Reserve is sending out information to the banks that agriculture is high risk. So they're not renewing operating loans either. And so you got loans, it's a disaster. Agriculture is disappearing, folks. It's dangerous.
Okay, so I want to give the people an analogy just in case they're missing this. So let's say I have a pink ink pen, right? I've got a pen, it's got a lid, but I go to sell it to Steve, and the government deems that the lid is no good. So, but the lid still has value, and I could sell Steve this pen without the lid if Steve wanted to buy it. And he says, yes, I want to buy it. But I can't sell anybody the lid because the government, even though it has value, the government says, oh, that's no good. You can't do that. And so I have it. It's an asset of mine, but I'm not allowed, is allowed the proper term, Steve. I'm not allowed to make money on that when it gets made, even though the manufacturer made it, they sent the whole pen together. But when I go to sell it, I'm not allowed to sell this part. I can only sell this part and make money on it, but I'm just going to have to chunk this. And so is that the equivalent of what's going on?
Well, the lid goes with it. You just don't get the money off.
Yeah. The lid is good because it makes the pen work better. And it's actually good, but the government says it's not good, but it is good. But it doesn't matter because the government overrode it and doesn't necessarily even have any good quality data to back it up, because obviously it really is good.
And let me tell you what they did with the lid. So if you can just imagine this, they took the lid off the pen, and when they got there, they turned the lid into a product. If you imagine it this way, that pink pen is a big old fat steer with a lot of fat on him. Well, his grade was down. He was not graded as high as lean. So because he had too much back fat on him. Well, now what they were doing with the back fat is not paying the rancher, and then they take that and they render it down and put it in dog food. Have y'all paid for dog food lately? See how much. So they've been making tons of money. And the rancher could have been making money on this. And that's one of the reasons Brian Massard's been making all his products himself. Because basically, if you take the kidney fat, you take the liver, the heart, the lung, you take all these products that are on a cow, there's about $8,000 in value outside of the beef side of an animal. There's about $8,000 per animal. And that's what the big processors are doing, because let's face it, everybody is buying liver powder. Kidney powder, tallow. Yeah, that's right. They're doing that. It's big time. And that's the problem, is the rancher's not making that money on that. Now, cattle are high right now. And, when you see, I got a report yesterday, sale 620 pound weight steers were about $3,000. So 620 pounds is not even ready to butcher. It needs to go to another 600, 700 pounds.
So you're saying the farmer doesn't get any money? The government, is it the government taking this money? Who takes takes the fat? Who gets the fat when the cow?
The processor.
But you paid the processor to process the cow. So why are they allowed to keep it, but you're not allowed as the farmer to get it back and to profit from it?
Because
the government said so?
Because it was in law. It was literally law that fat was bad.
Which draws back to the food pyramid.
It draws right back to the food pyramid. The food pyramid said fat is no good. So that fat can't be sold back into the human food chain.
All right. Well, let's go back then to what we were talking about earlier. Is this a tangible good thing that has happened under Trump and RFK Jr.? It's just delayed.
It is a good thing that's happened. And
if you can survive till then,
if you can survive to 2027, a lot of these farms and ranches are not going to survive till then.
No, that's the key. And I think I can't help but question, they've got to know that.
They know.
Who's going to profit? Is it the big companies that are going to be in business? It's the little guys that can't make it till then.
What I've been told in the banking world is that any agricultural loan or any agricultural farm, ranch, whatever they're growing, they have to be in debt at the minimum amount is $15 million. So
to be able to renew?
To renew a note.
Otherwise, thanks are not going to renew. Wow.
So that tells you how big it is. And I'm going to say that most of these $15 million deals, these are family operations that have been running for years and years and years, or it's giant ag. And they have these loans, but they are very profitable. It's a LTV is what actually the banking phrase is, loan to value.
Yeah.
And loan to value is that these guys are probably about 90% asset wealthy, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So the loan to value is very, very high. So they'll loan them. They'll renew a $15 million note, but anybody below that, out.
All right. So going back to the ink pen. So the government now has said, hey, this lid right here, it's valuable. But and it turned out we made a mistake. But we're not going to let you profit from this and use it and resell it and all of that, even though it belongs to you. We're not going to let you do anything with this until 2027.
That's right.
Okay. I want to make sure everybody understands, and that's why I'm drilling it down to an ink pen lid. Okay. All right. Very interesting. Why is hamburger meat from Walmart and other big box stores so cheap? Let's take a look at this little video here. Talk about it when we get.
Why is the hamburger so much cheaper to Walmart or a big box store? They mix a lot of the trimmings from other meats, other beefs from Brazil or other countries. They'll bring that in. That stuff comes in at $2 a pound or less, and they grind it with the American hamburger, call it all American. I don't think they have to put that in the label and sell it as American hamburger.
Steve.
And see the trim, here's what I want people to understand about the trim. The trim, this is the stuff that is just, this is not any ribeye. This is not any good hamburger cuts. This is the trim. This is not much. And they buy, and let me just tell you what McDonald's does. So what they do is they buy real thin cattle, like Brahma cattle, Longhorn cattle out of these other countries, that Watusi cattle like that are really, really, really lean. And then the fat, Michelle, the pen lid, what they do is they buy the fat from the processors for near nothing, and then they mix that with the trims, and then they put some American beef into it, and they blend all that together, and then they throw that in there, and that's how it's cheap.
Okay.
It's disgusting,
all right? Yeah. So you're buying what's called to me, it seems mislabeled, because why would you call it hamburger meat? People are thinking it's 100% hamburger meat. So is that why there's the whole 80, 20, 70, 30 on hamburger meat? Is there something does this have to do with that?
No, the number 80, 30 or 90, 10,
80, 20, 80, 20,
80, 30. Yeah, it's 80, 30. I'm doing government math.
Okay.
80, 20 or 90, 10. That is fat content.
You mean the stuff that's bad for you that they say is bad for you on the food pyramid, but they just flipped the food pyramid and said, "Oh, wait, it turns out it's good for you."
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
And so you have to think about this. For 30 years, they've been making a killing on this.
Yeah.
And the ranchers not made any money on it.
Wow. I mean, it just feels like theft. I hate to tell you, but it just feels like highway robbery. I mean, it's like April 15th every day for a farmer.
Yeah. And let me just say this too. Let's talk about grass-fed and corn grain-fed beef. The
Okay.
big people, the purists, they want all grass-fed beef, grass-finished, all that. It takes twice as long for a grass-fed animal to get to market. Okay. Twice as long. I've rendered grass-fed beef and I've rendered corn-fed. The corn-fed fat renders off and makes a purer, nicer, cleaner tallow than grass-fed. Now I know those 79 ladies that are out there that are in Australia, they're going to be throwing knives at me, but I'm trying to tell you, prior to GMO corn-fed animals, you could get them to wait faster. That was the issue, is that a rancher could get an animal faster to wait. And personally, fine. If you like grass-fed, you like 90-10, fine. I don't care. I want 70-30 is what I want. And I want my animal corn-fed. Now, I haven't fed corn to any of mine. I butchered on my farm school. I teach how to butcher. What I did is I fed barley pellets is what I did to that animal. But if I could have gotten corn, organic corn, I would have fed them that organic corn. But the best way to butcher, if you want to get the best marbling and the best flavor and the best tallow out of an animal, is when you kill that calf when he's like 700 to 900 pounds, when he's still sucking his mama. Then you have this what's called milk fat. And that is the part, but you have to kill 2 steers in the place of 1 because they're both big, they're smaller. So that's kind of what we've done.
Okay, interesting. All right. University of Nebraska has discovered something interesting about cows. Let's take a look.
So you'll be reading it, so it's not coming from my mouth. I'm not making it up. But the University of Nebraska just got done with their one of their studies that the way to save the world on carbon is raise more cows.
Okay.
And that's because cows are carbon negative.
Okay.
They produce more oxygen than they put off methane and carbon.
It means to eat more cheeseburgers or steaks,
more
right?
beef.
To save the world.
To save the world, right.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, Michelle, when I was a kid, and I don't know if people remember this or not, but they used to have like a picture, of the farmer and the cycle of, the clouds and the rain, and that CO2 was good because it made plants grow, and that the cow would eat the grass, and then the cow would graze, and then he would put manure out, and then the soil was good. So it made the trees and grass grow, which sucked the CO2 out. That's what they're talking about. But that was all reversed by Bill Gates. And, this climate change. Climate change is false, folks. This is not true. They've changed the climate by spray. It's weather modification, geoengineering, SRI, SAI. It's called weather warfare, electromagnetic weapons, NextRad. I mean, I'm just giving you the whole list. I'm just going, if this is your first time here, just if you're on Xanax, just double up, because if you start doing the research, you'll go down the rabbit hole and you'll realize that the commercials that Bobby Kennedy was doing with Kid Rock actually is Stephanie Spears, which is his chief director. That's Bobby Kennedy. That's her OnlyFans page. I mean, nobody's paying anything to watch it, but that's really what I'm hearing. That's really Stephanie Spears, her OnlyFans page.
My goodness, $8 million for a Super Bowl commercial. I'm still on that. We've got people that are starving and veterans, homeless and sleeping on the streets, but okay. Okay. So much to cover. It's so much going on. So when you were here last time, we spoke about how many times when one of us goes to the bank, whoever it is, a viewer had weighed in as well. In fact, a number of viewers during the show weighed in about how the banks had been asking them when they go to withdraw $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 from the bank, the teller wants to know why you're taking your money out of the bank, right? And so after the show, I ended up receiving another viewer email. And so I wanted to talk with you about this. So it says, "Dear Michelle, finishing up Tuesday's show with Steve Jarvis when you were talking about banks and how they want to know how you are going to use your money when withdrawn." So has a quick story. So here we go. Years ago, while listening to Glenn Beck talk about the Dodd-Frank banking bill put into place under Obama, I ended up closing out all of our savings accounts, and we just went or we just kept our money in a safe. When I learned that depositors were last in line for payment if a bank failed. A lot of people don't necessarily realize that. I was furious. So fast forward to 2024 when my 31-year-old son buys a home. Oh, I knew this was getting ready to be good. You know, my background's real estate, and I know the requirements, of kind of the whole chain of where the money come from and where's your proof and all that. So I thought, I see where this is going to go. He bought his safe, or he brought his safe to the bank and deposited his 20% down payment into his checking account. They wanted to know where all his money came from, of course. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't win for losing. Now all of a sudden you got money and you want to put it in the bank. Where'd it come from? They want to make sure it's not drug money, supposedly. So, of course, I was guiding him. So he was prepared for the questions. He simply told them to look back into his checking account history for the systematic withdrawals that he had made over the years, which they did. So it was provable. So now over the last several months, my daughter and her new husband are going through the same process. She did the same thing, depositing $50,000 times 2 over a month's time. Same questions, for example, where did you get all this money, etc. And she responded with the same answer to look at her checking account banking history. And now she has been told that the money needs to sit in the bank for 60 days before it can be used for her closing. So new rule. Now it's got to sit there for 60 days. So I'm sure that's a problem if they have a contract and a closing date for sooner, which most would be. So there is something very nefarious going on with all of this nonsense. We have not lived in a free country for a long time. It is assumed that the average person is corrupt, while the criminals, politicians especially, get anything with everything and are questioned about nothing. Or get away with everything and are questioned about nothing. I am so sick and tired of the hoops that average, honest, hardworking people have to jump through. So the story on your show with Steve hits home here in New Hampshire. Wow. Just another story. I thought you might want to hear that, and I certainly thought that the viewers would be interested. I did make a note that I wanted to also go over with you before we let you go. And Steve, that is about fake wins, WINS. I feel like there's a lot of that going on, just like with the pyramid. So it gets flipped and they go, oh, wait, we made a mistake. It turns out it's not. The pyramid's got errors. And so they flip it, but they say, oh, but wait a minute. We made a mistake, but yet we're not going to fix the mistake until 18 months from now in the fall of 2027 or whenever it is in 2027 that it's going to happen. Like, this is complete insanity. Why the delays? And I know my viewers are asking these same questions about the food dyes and different things that, are being allowed for so long.
Well, Maha is over. Okay. MAGA was over when the Epstein files didn't get released. And when Trump made the statement, I'm going to say everybody in the Republican Party that is not, brainwashed, because I voted for Trump 3 times, folks. And I wrote plans for them. So don't point the finger at me. But when he said we need to move on from this, okay.
Talking about Epstein.
The Epstein files. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the same thing with the Maha. See, Maha's killed themselves to do all these pesticide stuff, and they do these great wins, and they've got this defeated and get that defeated. Then Trump comes in, executive order, boom. Maha is over because Maha really doesn't matter anymore. You don't need Maha anymore because President Trump can executive order, or the EPA or the FDA. They do it anyway. Maha hasn't made any difference. Sorry, not sorry.
Okay. Interesting. And then I wonder sometimes about some of these people that you see like on social media where they're hyping something up, but yet, and that's what it feels like. They're making a big deal about a bunch of nothing, And so I've noticed this trend, and that's what I meant by fake wins. They're making a big deal like something, is so huge that we just got, when really we're still paying taxes. And okay, prime example that I would give you is the shots. So many people were like, look, Kennedy's not playing around. Look here. Now there's a handful of the shots, we'll call them shots, and they're not going to be required. Well, you still have the wolves in charge of the sheep. So let me see here. So now all of a sudden we're supposed to believe, now not required is the key words here. So now they're not required for your children to be able to go to school, but you're still making them. There's still a choice. And you got trusting, uneducated, uninformed parents that are bringing their 3-month-old, their 6-month-old, their 5-year-old for their kindergarten shots. And what is the doctor going to say? The doctors and the nurses are going to say, well, these, they're 5 years old. They're ready for their 5-year shots. And trusting parents are going to allow everything that the doctors and the nurses say that needs to be given or should be given at this point, or what we give. I mean, it's all in the verbiage. We typically give shots X, Y, and Z. And so at this age, and do you think that the parents, 99% of them, are going to say, okay, and trust the nurses and the doctors and not know any better? We still have the wolves. Why in the world would you celebrate that? I'd say, look, this is a step in the right direction, but don't get too happy because we're not where we need to be. But instead, when you look at social media and you hear all this, everybody's acting like this is a big deal. It's not a big deal. Okay. I hate to break it to you, but in cards, you'd lose the hand. And so it's just not a big deal, but it's a fake win to me. Why is it that these shots cause so many issues and we allow them to even be continued to be made and have our own American children getting these shots every day, including today? Same thing on April 15th. How many people are going to be writing checks to the IRS? And so there's just, we never get what we want. Have you noticed that?
No. And the thing about it is, everybody is in on it. Your senators in your state, your House representatives in your state, they're all your governors, our governor, they're all in on it. And the police and things like that, they're not going to arrest these doctors for giving these shots to these children when the child. And I will tell you this, I had a friend call me, and then she had one of her nieces was in a class, and the 13-year-old girl had a stroke. Okay. How many of y'all in here have heard of a little girl at 13 having a stroke? All right.
Never.
It's happening across the United States. Had another friend call me, 29-year-old son died suddenly. No, I didn't ask him if there was vaxxed or whatever, but I'm just saying that this stuff, and you don't hear about it. Let's call timeout on the Epstein file for just a minute. What about the when Dr. Fauci, is he arrested? Is anybody in NIH arrested? No. I mean, Bobby Kennedy's in charge of all that. Nobody got arrested for any of that stuff. You can't tell me those paperwork's not in there on who did what, and they just genocided a million people. No.
I got a theory. You want to hear my theory?
Yes.
I got a theory. I believe what we're seeing already is the beginning stages of people positioning themselves, politicians positioning themselves to run for president. Now, we all need to remember that Bobby Kennedy was running for president at one point this last time against Trump. And then all of a sudden he's, with Trump and all that. Okay. And he's over HHS or whatever he's doing. So we got that. Then you got DeSantis. Okay, so let me see here. I don't know what happened to the Disney thing because, remember how that was all in the news where DeSantis was going to make it to where Disney wasn't going to be what do they call it? Where they police, self-policing. Okay, so it just went away. He was talking recently about Floridians not having to pay property taxes, that, that's really not fair and it's not right, but yet Floridians are still paying property taxes. So I could keep going like this. Okay. So again, a bunch of nothing. Okay. So he just did this whole thing about the breads and the glyphosate or whatever, and how this has this much in it and this has that much in it. Okay, but is the bread still legal? Are grocery stores still selling that bread? Are those makers still making that bread with that much stuff in it? Yeah. So that's a bunch of nothing. So people are like, look here. Again, fake wins all over social media. It's like, look here, look at DeSantis, oh my gosh, amazing. Okay. So, yeah, I don't think so. So there's so much of the fakery going on that people need to stop and look and see. Remember, okay, Michelle's third person here. Michelle's favorite word of the year is tangible. So what has Ronnie DeSantis provided to the Floridians that is tangible? I'll wait because there is nothing.
Well, here I can tell you what tangible is for the bad guys. If you go look at the new Florida license plate, it has the Israeli flag on it. So how does that help you out? And not only that, I just was in a battle with these guys. I helped these guys out down there on this pesticide immunity fight. What the deal is these big corporations, big as sugar, and stuff like that were making a rule against the First Amendment that if you said anything about, foods or chemicals or anything that would have these chemicals in them, if you spoke out against it, that literally you could be sued and you had to pay their lawyer while you were in court. So you take a big company, you were going to sue them. So they're going to take the First Amendment. So we got a big win down there in the Senate. And then that is going to come back on the deck, folks. That comes back. It's going back into the House. That fight is still not finished. It goes back into the House on a vote March 4th. It's very important. If you're in Michelle's genre here, or you have people in Florida, you got to tell them they need to speak up because you're going to lose your First Amendment right. So there's tangible. You talk about Ron DeSantis is a good guy. They did the biggest weather modification, stop spraying, and they're the first one that made it a felony. They're still spraying. No arrests have been made. This is what I'm talking about. Nothing ever gets done. And let's go to the third level, which is most important. Why is it that Ron DeSantis flies to Israel with one of his Jewish senators to sign a law into place that if you speak against Israel, that you go to prison for 5 years in your state? What
happened to free speech?
Well, they're trying to kill it, and it's happening in Florida faster than anywhere else. I know that's shocking to y'all. Listen, Ron DeSantis doesn't need to be president, but I'm saying this, the Amish don't care who's president. They don't. And that's why we need to become, as a group, the Amish don't care about your pesticides. Drink up. They tell them don't pour it in our Kool-Aid while we're farming, because they're growing and they run a really, really good government system. And their government system has a good financial system, has a good things the way they run their culture. And that's what we just exit the society and say, hey, I'm not participating anymore. Fine. You want to appoint a school board? Well, guess what? We're going to get all the people and the kids and we're going to teach them for free. So no school needed.
Interesting. KM Sunshine says Governor Abbott dangles that carrot of eliminating property taxes for years. Quick question. How long has Abbott been in office in Texas? Been quite a few years?
8 years.
8? Okay. So he's had 8 years. Why hadn't it been done already? Same thing with Ron DeSantis. I mean, it's so bad. He's just talking it up like, oh my gosh, it's so terrible. Floridians shouldn't have to pay property taxes. Yeah, well, tell us something new. But under DeSantis, how many years has he been in office, and how long has this been going on under his watch? And he hadn't done anything about it yet.
This is what I'm talking about in this movement that's been in the nation. Okay. We get this one little, they give us this one little tiny win, and then they just flamethrower.
What's the win? But what's the win? There isn't a win.
Here's the win. Okay. Here's the win, what it looks like.
Okay.
Bobby Kennedy and Trump have joined together, and Bobby Kennedy, and they're going to make America healthy and make America great again. And you're just, oh my gosh, the tariffs are going to save and I love the farmers. And really the win is they'll all get together and we do cheering and everything else. And that's what the win really looks like, when behind the scenes, the whole thing is collapsing. I'll give you one from Texas. I'm from Texas. I've been here 7.5 years. I got to speak up on this. Abbott, listen. All right, so he's going to outlaw Sharia law, but he's going to allow Sharia courts.
Yeah, but it's nothing. And you got to remember that he was going to ball games with Baby Bush. So there's that. So these people, what is it? The leopard doesn't change its spots. Yeah. So, okay. And let's not even get into DeSantis's background and about his big donor who owned that luxury condo townhome that he and his family, DeSantis's family, got to stay in for free while he was running for governor of Florida. And then that guy ends up in the parking lot with the suicidal gunshot to the back of his head of the parking lot of the post office. I mean, it's kind of like, not good. So anyways, yeah, it's just ugly, very ugly. And I'm pretty sure Disney is still self-governing, by the way. Okay. Thank you so much, Steve. Any closing thoughts before we let you go?
Yeah, the closing thought is this. I'm going to tell everybody to go to just type in Max McLean audio Bible and type in Psalms 27 and just listen to that. But it says, I listened this morning. I thought it was very encouraging. It says, when evildoers assail to devour my flesh, they shall stumble and fall. So Amen. That's what I'm thinking about.
I like it. Thank you so much, Steve. All right. Thank you. Appreciate him coming and helping to translate what is really going on, especially when it goes to Maha and when it comes to the farming and agriculture here in this country. The truth is just the truth, and we're just trying to call it out. We see what we see going on, and it's insanity. All right. So before I let you go, I have to share some really exciting news. You know, a couple of weeks ago, we had a big Godly Granny release, and we released a new product that I was very excited about. So it's called the Organic Dead Sea Mineral Mud Pain Poultice. Say that really fast 5 times. Okay, so I had received a text message from a viewer and a customer, and she had said, is there any way that if I buy this, that you can get it to me in time? She was out of town helping a daughter, and she had fallen the week before, and she was in a lot of pain. And so anyways, I said, look, I can't, once it gets shipped, I have no control, but I can assure you that on Monday it will go out if you want to try. So that's what we did. She got it on that Friday. She put it on. And so she wrote a testimonial. And of course, I got notified about the testimonial. She gave it a 5-star review. And this is what happened. She said, I fell and hurt my patella very badly a couple of weeks ago. And she says, actually, in another message to me, she said that the doctor mentioned the S word. You know what the S word is? Surgery. So it was that bad. So she said that a couple of weeks ago, and Godly Granny had just happened to launch this product the next week. So I had nothing to lose here. Wow, this product really delivers. I left the poultice on for 45 minutes. When we had Yvonne and we talked about this product, we had said anywhere you wet the area and then 20 to 45 minutes. Now, this is not something to just help with pain. This actually pulls inflammation. It's going to pull it out. And so it's I think the only product we have that actually says organic in the name. You have to meet different requirements and all this stuff, but this has a ingredient that comes straight from Israel, from the Dead Sea. So this is a big deal. Okay, so wow, this product really delivers. I left the poultice on for 45 minutes, and I could literally feel the pain and inflammation lift off. When I got up to walk around, the stiffness was gone, and after 2 weeks of pain, I could literally bend my knee again. Thank you, Lord, and thank you, Godly Granny, for making this available for so many who will need this. Okay, had another review on the organic Dead Sea mineral mud pain poultice. Okay. Again, say that fast 5 times. Okay, so Jeannie writes, just used it, and it is amazing. Now listen to this. This is great. I have had knee pain and swelling for over 7 years. Left it on for about 35 minutes, 20 to 45. That's the range, so she was good. Took a shower and was walking around, and it dawned on me that my knee wasn't in pain. You don't need a lot of it. 1 layer was fine. Godly Granny is the best at finding solutions to problems that the cabal products cause or overlook. Thank you, God and Godly Granny. Isn't that great? All right. Now I got to tell you something. I have always liked lemon because lemon just smells, I don't know, just clean. I like something that smells clean. And so I'm a little bit of a germaphobe, just in case you didn't know. I'm not near as bad as I used to be. I used to be really bad. I went through a stage. And so, okay. So, but I like all my towels to be white. And I've talked about that before. Like I got to feel like things are clean. And so, and I don't really care for a lot of flowery smells or whatever and fruity smells. That's just not, there's nothing wrong with them. It's just not what I prefer. I just prefer no smell or something that smells just what I would call clean, like a citrus kind of thing. So like a lemon. Well, at same release, we launched a fully biodegradable dish soap, and it's in lemon and eucalyptus. One product, it's lemon combined with eucalyptus, which I love eucalyptus, okay, which is in our allergy, cold, and sinus line, which is phenomenal. Everybody knows that hears me talk about it. I know that I put on the allergy, cold, and sinus lotion stick on my inner wrists every morning. Works great for allergies and just congestion. So Jill gives a 5-star review for the fully biodegradable. You see it here on the screen. dish soap in lemon and eucalyptus. Now, it's a gray stripe because I figure some people will keep it out on the kitchen countertop. And I knew that like a lemon eucalyptus would be like a yellow green, and I didn't want that to kind of clash with your kitchen and your decor. So I decided to just do it a neutral, which is gray. And so I said, and so she says, I absolutely love the lemon and eucalyptus dish soap. She says the smell is so clean and pleasant, and it cleans the dishes beautifully, cutting through grease, which makes scrubbing dishes quick and easy. I told y'all. I told you. And it only takes a small amount and foams very well. It does. She's right. The best part is knowing that it is safe and clean to use with no chemicals. I love my Godly Granny products. Isn't that great? It's just so great. All right. So I wanted to share those testimonials. I want to remind you, as your products are coming in and you're using them and you're loving them, make sure that you go to the website and leave a review so that way it can help other people make informed decisions. I always think, gosh, the lady was walking around. Jeannie was walking around her home and didn't even realize her knee wasn't hurting. Isn't that amazing? Amy, hurting for 2 weeks. The doctor saying the S word. And she's just fine. It's just what a miracle. It's so great. God is so good. And so I just wanted to share that with you. Let's see here. I see where Cousin 77 says the Federal Reserve needs to go. I know we all agree with that, right? Okay. No Nonsense Netta says, nope, nothing tangible, Steve. That's my word. So when you start listening to people go, what have they tangibly done? What have they tangibly delivered for the people that are in their state or for here in the United States? What are we tangibly getting? And that's what, the changes, the improvements, the whatever. How does this tangibly change our lives and make it better? How does this tangibly put money in my pocket? See what I'm saying? When you start looking for the word tangible and you start using that, I think you can't help but kind of cut through the crapola. Okay, I'm just saying. KM Sunshine says, Michelle, you've been a good influence on me as I've been asking questions like crazy. Good. Yes. And I just the truth. Just don't be blinded by all of the rhetoric. That's where tangible comes in. So I hope that helps you. I want to remind you, with producer Ron not feeling well, we're going to take tomorrow off, give him a 3-day weekend to just rest and get past whatever, crud he's gotten. He's been achy and feverish and all that kind of stuff. He's using his Wave Watch. And so he's, and his ivermectin, by the way. So we're going to give him some time to get better. And then we'll be back here Monday with Lieutenant Mark Taylor and our teaching series, our 4-week teaching series that I'm so excited about with Jay that I'm going to be doing with him starts next Friday. So a week from tomorrow. I'm going to miss you. It's a 3-day weekend. So much going on. I will be tweeting here and there as it strikes me. I've been doing that throughout the week as well. And we'll see you Monday right here next time on the Michelle Moore Show.
Hi, I'm Linda Bamber Olson, the inventor of the Wave Watch, the world's first frequency therapy watch. It features over 1,100 targeted frequencies combined into 150 playlists for ease of use. These sounds are acoustical and they move through your body, through your skin and your bones. You don't necessarily have to hear it. As each frequency goes through, it can be realigning, revitalizing, reconnecting, and even rebalancing your body all the way to the cellular level. So that's why we have so many testimonies for aches, ADD and ADHD, allergies, colds and flu, dental, emotions, headaches, joints, kidney stones, nerves, organs, skin health, swelling, tremors, vagus nerve, and so many more. Use this code for $100 off when you purchase the Wave Watch. Thanks for learning about frequencies, using them, and supporting the Wave Watch.
There aren't a lot of reasons to use Godly Granny products. There's every reason, because every time you twist or flip a cap on something from Godly Granny, you're voting no to chemicals and yes to common sense, but without all the electronic voting machines. With Godly Granny, there's no toxins, no chemicals, no endocrine disruptors, no cancer-chasing filler. Godly Granny is a small batch, made to order, deeply naturopathic wellness brand, founded on biblical truth, Formulated with pure purpose and handcrafted by saved folks who know that freedom doesn't come from fake lavender and phthalates. Go to godlygranny.com today. Be sure and use the discount code Michelle10 at checkout to receive 10% off your entire order.
Hi friends, it's Michelle Moore. And when it comes to protecting your retirement, I believe in taking smart, steady steps. Bank of America analysts call gold the ultimate safe haven, and when it comes to precious metals, I trust Universal Coin and Bullion, the official rare coin and bullion dealer of my show. They have been named the best in their industry both nationally and regionally by leading organizations. Consider a gold IRA, a time-tested way to diversify your portfolio with real tangible assets, which lets you move a portion of your retirement savings into physical gold, helping protect your wealth from inflation, market swings, and economic uncertainty. And Universal Coin and Bullion makes the process easy. From rollovers to delivery, they walk you through every step, even if you have one with another gold company. Protect what you've worked so hard to build from the team that I trust, Universal Coin and Bullion, at 800-321-8700, and make sure to tell them Michelle sent you.
For Michelle's social media links, go to michellemooreshow.com.